So Andor wrapped up, and I waited a couple days on purpose to talk about it because I didn't want to just go into this with like super high thoughts and like just watched it. Oh my god, this is the best ever. I don't think it's the best ever. I think it's really good, but we'll get into all that. But I wanted to wait a couple days on purpose. So the review is a little bit late, so this might not do too well, but this is just gonna be kind of random thoughts. I literally just sat down and started recording this. I have no plans, I have no notes. I'm just gonna start talking about whatever I want to talk about. So if this is a little bit messy, that's not bad. Like and subscribe. Let's get into the review. Okay. Andor is such a great like TV episode series. It doesn't even really feel like Star Wars, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I think it's really great that Star Wars is going into a new direction, and I like where that direction is going. However, it's very different from what we're getting from the rest of Star Wars with like The Mandalorian. That's another thing I want to talk about is The Mandalorian and Andor, which we'll get to in a minute. It's very different from everything else that we've seen, and it's really good about how it handles its story. It's one of the best written Star Wars projects for sure. I think it's probably I hear people say that this is the best thing since Empire, which I strongly disagree with. But I do think that this might be the best writing from a Star Wars project since Empire, as in dialogue and then direction of the actual scenes. I think this is probably the best direction and writing since Empire, but I don't think this is the best project since Empire. Um, it's really a slow burner. I do hear people say it's too slow, it's boring. I don't agree that it's boring, but I do agree that it's slow. It's definitely a slow burner. So I don't really blame people for having that opinion. Even though I think this is like one of the best projects since Empire. It's very good. Definitely connect with pretty much all of the characters, even the villains. They like try and like make you want to like them, which is weird because it ends up working sometimes. Like there's some scenes where you're like, I just want this Deidre lady. I just want her to figure it out, you know? I just want her to get on. I want her to get her. But when you get to the scene where she's on Ferrix and she doesn't get him, she almost dies. It's like, yeah, I just want her to die. That stupid Imperial. It's like it's crazy how they take you through those emotional roller coasters with the characters, and I absolutely love it. The cinematography is on point. The acting is some of the best acting in the entire franchise. Might be the best acting in the entire franchise, actually. I can't think of very many examples where the acting is actually better than it was in Andor. Not off the top of my head, anyways. Like it's just that good. But what I do agree with is that Andor, while being a perfectly good, well-contained story, also does have some faults where it does move a little bit slow, and it takes a very high level of intelligence to like fully understand what's going on. Like, I mean, you can watch it and you can enjoy it, obviously, but to understand what's really going on in some of the scenes, you really have to slow down and think about it. Sometimes I found myself watching a scene or two again because I got confused. A couple of those being Mon Mothma scenes. The Mon Mothma scenes were so good in this show. Those were one of the best parts of the show for me, was the Mon Mothma stuff and the prison stuff. That stuff was so good. But it takes such a high level of intelligence to like completely understand what Mon Mothma is saying sometimes. Same thing with Luthen. Sometimes you got to really get in his head and see what he's doing. There's the one scene where they have the rebel spy that's in the ISB, and Luthen goes and talks to him. So while the spy is in the elevator, I had to rewind it and watch that one again because I was confused. I didn't realize. Oh wait, he's like a spy. He's like not an Imperial. He's a rebel. I didn't realize that through the first part of the conversation, so I had to rewind it. So it really tests your intelligence and makes sure you're paying attention to the show, because if you're not paying attention, you might get lost in some scenes, which I think is a good thing and a bad thing. That it's such a deep show that you have to really think about what's being said. I think that's a good thing for Star Wars, but also some people might not enjoy it for that, so I understand that too. And I wanted to get to the discussion where it's not really like The Mandalorian in the sense that it's a very episodic thing. Well, it is episodic, but it's not like here's a full story in one episode. Baby Yoda's cute in it. You have Boba Fett show up and then they shoot some people and the episode ends. It's not like that at all. While I do love The Mandalorian, I think my biggest criticism of it is that it's just Mando and Baby Yoda going to a planet. There's a character. They go shoot some people and the episode ends. That's probably my biggest critique of The Mandalorian. While I do think that format is good and I enjoy it, it's also kind of lazy at sometimes. There's a couple episodes in The Mandalorian, specifically, what is it, like it's season 2, episode 2, I think is a perfect example of an episode where they just go somewhere, shoot some things, and then the episode ends. Like, that episode didn't really need to happen, in my opinion. So, it's stuff like that I could critique The Mandalorian for, but this is not a critique of The Mandalorian. I'm just comparing it to how I felt about Andor. Andor, I never really got hyped until that, well, I actually did in the last episode where they basically rebelled. That was hype. But besides that, I never really got like, oh my god, I'm so excited about this. And like I did with The Mandalorian, which I understand they weren't going for that. They wanted you to connect with the characters. So I do understand where that's coming from. I do. But it's just hard to like say I like it more than The Mandalorian when The Mandalorian does so much for the franchise and for it brings fan service in, but in a good way because it all works. Like introducing Ahsoka into live action, Bo-Katan into live action, and I think most of all bringing back Luke Skywalker. Like, I understand it's fan service, but how am I supposed to not love having Luke Skywalker back? So I don't know. It's hard for me to compare the two. I've been seeing people say that Andor is the best live action TV show. And I don't know. I agree that it's the best written, but I just enjoyed The Mandalorian more as a series. But I know in my brain that Andor is technically better made. There's no like stagecraft. Well, if there is, there's like barely any of it. There's barely any stagecraft. The acting is one of the best acting performances in the entire franchise. The writing is really deep and well done. So it's just hard for me to compare because The Mandalorian was so exciting and so fun to watch. And, there's Baby Yoda. Gotta love Baby Yoda. Mando is great. Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka. Like, you bring all these characters in, and then you're supposed to tell me that Andor is supposed to be more of an exciting project for me? I don't know. I really cannot decide which one I like better. They're really just here. I'll pull this up. They're really just tied for me with what the best live action Star Wars project is. I literally just cannot decide. Right now, I'm pulling up my Letterboxd profile to show you my Star Wars ranking, which we'll go over in a separate video, but eventually. But here is my Star Wars ranking. I have Andor right here. I don't know if I could put Andor above Return of the Jedi, but I could see Andor and Return of the Jedi being pretty much on par in my ranking. And they don't have The Mandalorian on Letterboxd, but I would probably put Mando like on par with Andor. So like Return of the Jedi, Andor, and The Mandalorian would probably all be tied in my Star Wars ranking because it's just that good. It's so they're all just great. I literally, yeah, Andor and The Mandalorian are tied. I literally just can't decide between which two I like better. I literally just can't decide. They're both really good. So I guess in the comment section, if you would guys want to tell me which one you think is better, that would be cool because I genuinely have no idea which one I prefer because they're both just that good. I enjoy them both so much. I can't decide. So let me know in the comments which one is your favorite. Let me know what you thought of this review. Did you like Andor or are you stupid? Okay, well, that was a bit mean, but if you didn't like Andor, let me know why in the comment section. Thanks for watching. See ya. Subscribe.